All right, so we're talking about gas hormones. I love this idea that cells will mist out this vapor, this gas vapor, in order to control behaviors or control functions in the body. We talked about carbon monoxide. Carbon monoxide, even though most folks recognize as a deadly toxin in small concentrations, it's important for the heart and blood vessels. As a gas hormone, it tells the cells that line the blood vessels to relax, to lighten up, to open up. And that makes carbon dioxide or carbon monoxide an important relaxing neurotransmitter. The second gas hormone we talked about a little bit yesterday, started talking about yesterday, also has relevance for the heart and for the circulatory system. It reduces the formation of fibers that can be associated with atrial fibrillation. Like carbon monoxide, it has a relaxing effect on the heart. It stabilizes arrhythmias. The second gas transmitter is considered to be medicine of the future. It's derived from sulfur, which is unfortunately deficient in the soils and in the standard American diet as well. We'll be talking about sulfur here in a little bit, sulfur deficiencies and the importance of sulfur, especially for making the second gas hormone. The second gas hormone is being explored for its applications as an anti-aging substance and also for its healing value and therapeutic value. It slows everything down. It's a suspended animation substance. It puts the body into suspended animation, or at least slows the body and heads it towards a kind of suspended animation state. It allows the body to work less, and less work means longer life. Relaxation means longer life, and this is a very important substance for relaxing things, slowing things down. It means better heart health. It means better brain health. It's also being explored for neurological issues, nerve issues, for pain relief, for movement disorders like Parkinson's disease or palsies, as an anti-inflammatory, as a anti-autoimmune disease substance. This second gas hormone is called hydrogen sulphide. It's the stinky stuff in rotten eggs, but it is a gas transmitter. It's the stinky stuff in hot springs. It's the stinky stuff that comes out as flatulence, but it's a hormone. It's a vapor that's misted across cells. If you ever smelled rotten egg, you've smelled hydrogen sulphide. It's also made by bacteria in our colon, the famous E. coli. We talked about that yesterday. We've all smelt E. coli's handiwork, as embarrassing as it might be. Passing gas is one of the most common of all bodily functions. We've got to get over this whole embarrassment around bodily functions. I was kind of debating whether I wanted to talk about flatulence, but it's kind of interesting. Not all cultures share American embarrassment about bodily functions. There's this tribe this Indian tribe in the Brazilian rainforest, the Yanomami Indians. They actually pass gas to say hello. I don't know how exactly that's done, but that's according to the Encyclopedia Britannica. China, if you're looking for a new job, you can actually get a job as a professional flatulence smeller. No, I'm not kidding you here. According to Chinese medical experts, there's a lot of health information that you can get from the smell of flatulence. By picking up various odors, sweet odors, savory. I'm just reporting back, guys. This is just, don't shoot the messenger here. But this is a real job in China. Sweet smells, savory smells, bitter smells, meaty aromas. They actually call it meaty aromas. These various different aromas actually can identify various illnesses, including cancer. And this is kind of, I don't know, latest thing in China, I suppose. Extremely stinky flatulence can be a sign of an infection. It can be a sign of Crohn's disease or celiac disease, bowel problems. Raw, what they call a meaty smell or a fishy smell can be an infection. It can involve bleeding or tumors in the intestinal lining. The presence of garlicky smell or an oniony smell can be an indicator that we're not digesting, we're not processing our foods correctly. There's a lot of information you can get from the various smells of flatulence. I'm just reporting here. On the average, your average flatulence comes out at 10 miles an hour. I don't know why that's important, but it is. Anyway, flatulence is a complex gas, and in addition to hydrogen sulfide, you get all kinds of other sulfur-containing chemicals, decomposing vegetable smells, and they're all important. They all have something to say about the health of the intestines, the health of the digestive system, and the health of the body. And by the way, cattle are an extremely important source of sulfur gases in the environment. 18% or so of the gases that are responsible for global warming are actually cattle emissions, if you will. In any case, it's sulfur that contributes to the stink. That's all I'm going to say about that. But I thought it was kind of interesting. We've got to get over this whole idea of bodily or embarrassment around bodily emissions and stuff that the body makes. Anyway, sulfur contributes to the stink. It's responsible for the smell of rotten eggs and intestinal gas. There's sulfury. The more sulfury foods you eat, the more likely you're going to be to pass sulfur. Cabbage, beans, eggs, those are notoriously problematic. Meat, which is a rich source of sulfur amino acids. And by the way, these sulfur amino acids are absolutely critical to health and well-being, especially if you're in a nursing home recovering from surgery. If your body's degenerating in any way, sulfur amino acids that come from meat and to a certain extent from vegetables like beans and cabbages are extremely important, unbelievably important for building substances. And not surprisingly, sulfur amino acids are deficient in the standard American diet and deficient in the plants that grow in sulfur-deficient soils. We'll talk about that here when we come back from our break. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. Don't go away. Okay, so continuing on with sulfur, super important element that is involved in the production of two super important building and detoxifying amino acids. Sulfur deficiencies are extremely common because they're not in the soil. Soil deficiencies of sulfur, mineral deficiencies in the soil are a big problem, as you know if you've listened to this program, and no element or mineral deficiency is more significant than sulfur deficiency. Sulfur is, in addition to being an important component of hydrogen sulfide, sulfur is mega electrically active. It's an activating element. It activates vitamin D and it activates cholesterol. It activates various fatty substances. Essential fatty acids get activated by sulfur. Sulfur gives fats a certain ability to dissolve in water. I don't want to say dissolve in water, but at least to be kind of suspended in water. And the combination of sulfur and fats and water creates lots of electrical energy. Hydrogen sulfur in the form of hydrogen sulfide has a nice relaxing effect. This is why sulfur hot springs can be very healthful and very beneficial. This is why sulfur hot springs have, for eons, for thousands of years, had a reputation for their relaxing benefits and healing benefits. And the sulfur that's emitted from these sulfur hot springs can also be, as I said earlier, especially significant for the health of the brain. Sulfur is found in high concentrations in brain cells. Brain cells make this hydrogen sulfide gas transmitter, and sulfur and hydrogen sulfide have a role to play not just in movement disorders like Parkinson's disease and palsies, but also for thinking, for cognition, for memory, and of course for regulating, as we said, the health of the heart. The lungs are also dependent to a certain extent on hydrogen sulfide. Hydrogen sulfide also plays a role in sugar control as well as in insulin release, and it helps the body process sugar. Sulfur in general is very important for helping the body process sugar, and we don't hear too much about it, unfortunately. Hydrogen sulfide is also important for the health of the digestive system. The unregulated production of hydrogen sulfide under conditions of messed up gut bacteria, so-called dysbiosis, are involved in the development of all kinds of diseases, sort of like deficiencies in carbon monoxide, deficiencies in prostaglandins, these other hormone-type substances that you don't hear a lot about. Deficiencies in carbon monoxide, deficiencies in prostaglandins are also involved in degenerative diseases. Likewise, deficiencies in hydrogen sulfide, which follow sulfur deficiencies, can also be related to lots of degenerative diseases, including diabetes. Hydrogen sulfide slows things down. It relaxes things. It's like a molecular brake. Slows down chemistry that may be occurring too rapidly. In the case of diabetes, or in the case of pre-diabetes, and almost everybody's, probably 1 out of 3 or more, maybe 1 out of 2 people are at least pre-diabetic or diabetic. And one of the problems with pre-diabetes or diabetes, problems handling sugar is super explosive and super high energy. The body doesn't like super explosive. The body doesn't like super high energy. So it's got these braking systems, these inhibitory systems, these slowing down systems that keep the body and keep cells from spinning out of control, from operating chaotically. And there's lots of these braking elements. GABA, G-A-B-A, is a braking element, an inhibitory element, and hydrogen sulfide is also an inhibitory element. So sulfur, in addition to being an activator, is also an inhibitor via its connection with hydrogen sulfide for diabetes. That's one of the reasons why sulfur is just unspeakably important, and we don't even talk about all the various ways sulfur is important, and including for helping the body handle sugar, for helping the body if you have diabetes or insulin problems, you're not handling sugar. You guys, sugar is a poison, okay? Let's be very clear about this. Sugar is a poison in the sense that after you have just a tiny little bit, which you need for energizing, especially for the nervous system, for the brain, after that tiny little bit, sugar has to be considered a toxin, a poison. And you know what? If you go to the grocery store, the purest poison that's not in the pharmacy, the purest substance that's not in the pharmacy is the most poisonous substance, and that's the sugar. And it's the stuff that never goes up. The price never goes up. It's always $1.50 or $2 a pound. It's the same price it was today as it was when I was a kid. What's that about? Why do we guaranteed the purest, most poisonous substance in the supermarket is guaranteed to stay the same price no matter what the economy is doing? People know. The government knows. People who set the prices on these things know you don't deprive the people of their sugar. Because sugar, in addition to being toxic and poisonous, and a great way to assure that people leave the gene pool, and a great way to assure that people stay sick and dumb and stupid, too sick and too dumb and too stupid to do anything about their eroding freedoms and eroding liberties, one of the best ways to assure that people stay that way is to make sure everybody gets enough sugar, and it's cheap. Sugar can be especially toxic to the pancreas cells, obviously, which are super sensitive to blood sugar levels. When pancreas cells are bombarded with sugar, specifically something called beta cells, they'll actually release hydrogen sulfide. Remember, hydrogen sulfide slows things down, and when the beta cells, the insulin-making cells in the pancreas, are attacked by sugar over and over and over again, they'll actually release their own hydrogen sulfide gas to kind of relax things, to slow things down. If this doesn't happen, if this only happens once in a while, if it doesn't happen all the time, that's not a big deal. That's a compensatory strategy that the body has. It adjusts things. When things get too fast, it adjusts them downward. When they're too slow, it adjusts them upward. So if you're bombarding your blood, or your blood is being bombarded with sugar, dietary sugar, eventually the cells of the pancreas are just going to get winded, pooped out, so they'll secrete a little hydrogen sulfide to slow things down, no problem. But if it happens once in a while, but if it happens over and over and over again over the course of months and years and decades, eventually all that hydrogen sulfide is going to weaken and ultimately kill those beta cells, and we'll call that type 1 diabetes or perhaps type 2 diabetes, and your doctor will say, well, there's nothing you can do about that, and we're just going to have to keep you on insulin the rest of your life, or you have to take your metformin for your rest of your life. No. Dietary control of your sugar intake is really the best strategy to relax the activity of these insulin-making cells in the pancreas and keep those pancreatic cells healthy. Hang tight. We'll finish this up when we come back. We're talking about sulfur and hydrogen sulfide. It turns out that sulfur's got a lot of roles to play in the body that we don't really talk about. It activates fats like vitamin D and cholesterol, and it's also involved in sugar metabolism, and sulfur deficiencies are very common. To get yourself some MSM if you're interested in supplementing with sulfur. MSM is completely non-toxic. You'll find it in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. You can take 1,000 to 2,000 milligrams a day. It's one of those all-purpose, multifunctional, non-toxic, super gentle supplements and inexpensive supplements. You can get, for $10 or so, you can get a month's supply of 1,000 milligram daily dose of MSM sulfur, and of course you'll get a lot of the longevity products. Doc's been talking about MSM sulfur for a long time. It's not a panacea. It's not a cure-all. Sometimes you'll see these advertisements or internet these websites that talk about MSM sulfur as being a cure-all for everything. It is not a cure-all, but it's absolutely, unbelievably, indispensably important, in my opinion, as a supplement for building things, for bone health, for muscle health, for detoxification, and also for the production of hydrogen sulfide. Most important thing you could think about if you're interested in upregulating your hydrogen sulfide, if you have diabetes, or if you're interested in getting the benefits of sulfur for its detoxification properties or for its building properties, the most important foods are going to be onions and garlic and stinky foods. Meat, of course, is also a good source of sulfur. The most important thing from a nutritional standpoint that we can do, in addition to making sure that we're supplementing with MSM sulfur and getting MSM sulfur on a regular basis, is eating sulfur. Sulfur is one of the more common and underappreciated of the nutritional deficiencies, soil-based nutritional deficiencies. Two main sulfur amino acids that are made by plants depend on sulfur from the soil. No sulfur in the soil, that means these amino acids aren't going to be in the plants, and that means less protein in the plants. So for you vegans and vegetarians, especially militant vegans who insist upon getting protein from beans and insist upon getting protein from veggies, there's these doctors like I don't want to mention anybody's names, but less than intelligent vegetarian and vegan doctors who claim that you can get everything you need from plants. Not true, especially with soil deficiencies. Not that, we may have a problem even if we're eating meat, of course, because of soil deficiencies, but the fact of the matter is it's going to be very difficult to get the protein, the good quality protein that you need simply by eating vegetables. It can be done if you're vegan and vegetarian. I'm not saying it can't be done. It's just going to be difficult, especially with sulfur deficiencies. Beans, cabbage. If you're eating fish, that's also going to be a good source of sulfur. And, of course, meat is also always a good source of sulfur, as is dairy and eggs. Meat, dairy, and eggs are going to be the best sources of protein for anybody. And if you're vegan or vegetarian, I'm sorry to say that, but that's just the fact. It's not that it can't be done if you're vegan or vegetarian. So don't send me letters. I always get these letters from vegans and vegetarians insisting they can get everything they need. And it is possible. It is possible. It's just a little bit harder. All right, tomorrow we're going to continue talking about these gas transmitters and talk a little bit about sulfur deficiency tomorrow, and then we'll talk about the third gas transmitter. There's only three: carbon monoxide, hydrogen sulfide, and then this third one, which is really, really important. When I was got my first college degree. I got 2 college degrees. My first degree was in journalism got it in 1980. When I was in college the first time in the late 70s, there was this guy. He used to like to sniff this stuff out of a little bottle. He would sniff it and get intoxicated by sniffing this stuff. And this stuff is actually related to a very important hormone, gas hormone that's got brain health properties. Little stuff he was snorting, if you will. He used to call it locker room. I'll tell you about that tomorrow. It's got a really interesting story, and it's got a very interesting, the intoxicating substance actually has got a really interesting role to play when it comes to biological health. We'll talk about that tomorrow as we continue talking gas hormones on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Our number is 877-300-7645. Let us go to Rose. What's going on, Rose? Is this Virginia Rose?
Yes, sir. How you doing, Ben?
How you doing, Rose? Good morning.
Good morning. God bless you, and blessings from above. I have a question. Where can I get liquid magnesium, and which type? I know I have it in my nose, but I need it.
There's all kinds of sources of liquid magnesium. Use the Beyond OsteoFX if you're going to use the longevity products. You can get liquid magnesium pretty much in any health food store. But I like the Beyond OsteoFX. Are you doing the longevity products? If you're doing the longevity products, the Beyond OsteoFX is the way to go.
Okay, but if I had an emergency that I didn't have it, which one do you think?
Go to get something called magnesium citrate. What the heck is the name of that product? Go to any drugstore and you can get liquid magnesium citrate. And that's for people who are constipated, and there's a brand name for it, and I forgot. I'm sorry. Is it it's either magnesium citrate or it's actually magnesium phosphate now that I think about it, and I forgot the name of it.
Magnesium what?
Phosphate. Phosphate of magnesium or magnesium phosphate. And I forgot the name of the brand name of it, but you can get it at any drugstore. It comes in a green bottle, and it's sold for constipation. It's a laxative, and it works very quickly, by the way.
And but I don't want it for constipation. I know that magnesium is good for your body in general.
Oh, then you want the Beyond OsteoFX. If you just want it as a nutritional supplement, get the Beyond OsteoFX. Yeah. Liquid magnesium phosphate.
There's a few questions I have. Yes. When it comes to vitamin C, I heard the other day Dr. Cass Ingram. Hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
And I don't know if you have heard him. He's very good. They call him Dr.
I know Cass Ingram. I've been reading his stuff for a long time. I'm not exactly on board with everything he says. What's he saying about ascorbic acid?
Well, he was mentioning about vitamin C. That some vitamin C's are not good. All
right, let me talk about that, Rose, because I'm getting letters. I talked about it a couple weeks ago. So if you want to go to my website and search ascorbic acid or vitamin C, you'll get my little rant on that. Here's the story, and I'm getting sick of hearing this nonsense about ascorbic acid.
But he said that because of the source that it comes from.
No, that's stupidity. That's nonsense. Okay, once it's extracted from the corn, listen, let me just be clear here, okay? Once you take a chemical out of a plant, it doesn't have any of the stuff in the plant. Now, you may get some residue from the processing. That's conceivable, but it doesn't matter the source. Once it comes out of the plant, and most ascorbic acid comes from corn, once it comes out of the plant and it's processed and it does all the chemistry occurs in order to extract the ascorbic acid out of the corn, there's no corn left in it. The body can't tell that it came from corn. I don't know what this guy's talking about. And I don't know what anybody's talking about when they tell you that there's GMO, it comes from a GMO source. GMO corn is a problem, and GMOs are a problem in general. That's for sure. But once you get the ascorbic acid out of the GMO corn, it's just ascorbic acid. It doesn't matter where it came from. And when it gets into your body, the cells of your body use the ascorbic acid. They see the molecular structure of the ascorbic acid, the cells do, and they take it in. They're not like, oh, ascorbic acid, you're from corn, you're from GMO. It doesn't know. It just sees ascorbic acid. And as far as ascorbic acid and vitamin C go, yes, it's true that in a plant, the ascorbic acid is connected up with other things that are important for the body to use ascorbic acid. That's why plants are always better than supplements. That's why food is always better than supplements. Food is always better than supplements. The problem is the stuff isn't in the food. We've destroyed our food. We've destroyed the soil. And so
I have other questions.
Hang on, Rose. I got to take a break. So we'll finish up when we come back. I'm Pharmacist Ben. You're listening to The Bright Side. We'll be back right after this. Okay, we're back on The Bright Side. That was magnesium citrate that I was trying to think of. Citrate of magnesia, which is a anti-constipation medicine. It's a laxative that's used for rapid, as they say, bowel evacuation. You can get it at drugstores, and you do half a bottle and then sit around for an hour or so. Or if nothing happens, you do the other half after an hour or so. You can do up to 2 bottles or so. You can do 2 bottles of this stuff, and it also comes in tablets, I guess. Anyway, we used to recommend it in the drugstore all the time for folks who are intractably constipated, which can be a miserable experience. All right, 877-300-7645. Rose, what were you asking before we went to the break?
Okay. Now, you mentioned about the one that longevity has. Which other one in the regular,
Healthy Start Pack?
Magnesium.
It's called Beyond Osteo FX.
Okay. May I ask you this question?
Sure.
When I was very young, that I started college, at the normal age, I remember I experienced phobias. That was when I was on my
experience what?
Year.
I didn't understand.
And
Rose, stop for Rose. I didn't hear what you said. You said experienced what?
Phobia, fear.
Oh, fear, phobia. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah, and so it was phobia to the groups of people. It was weird. I never had that in my life. It was because I was overprotected by my family, which I appreciated their goodness. And
how can I help you? How can I help you with that, Rose?
My question is this: I don't believe in artificial means. That's why I never fell into drugs. I overcame that phobia by faith and self-determination to fight it back. Now, I have a son, my oldest son. He's having this same symptoms of this phobia.
What's he afraid of?
What's his anxiety? And then he went to a doctor, and I told him in the past what you said, and now he's taking Zoloft. What do you advise about this?
Well, it's a poison. I mean, I don't know why doctors poison people. For the life of me, I can't figure out why a medical professional would think it's okay to poison somebody with a drug like Zoloft and SSRI. On the other hand, sometimes people, when they take their Zoloft and they'll zone out, SSRIs kind of keep you on the zoning out sort of emotional status where you don't have highs and you don't have lows. I can't tell somebody what to do if they prefer that kind of way of operating through life where they're just kind of neutral. There's no ups and there's no downs. More power to them. That's people's decision that they have to make. The fact of the matter is there's no such thing as a prescription drug that does not have toxic side effects that will not ultimately shorten your life. So it's just do a cost-benefit analysis, and everybody's got to do it themselves. The reason I do this program, the only thing I want people to understand is if you don't want a prescription drug, you have options. All right? If you do want a prescription drug, praise God, more power to you. I'm not judging anybody for what they do. The reason I do the bright side and what I've dedicated my life to is explaining to people or demonstrating to people that we have options to all prescription drugs, all long-term prescription drugs like Zoloft. I'm not talking about antibiotics or pain pills.
Option for instead of Zoloft?
Well, I don't know what he's afraid of, but usually when you have some kind of emotional issue, you're not handling life for whatever reason, there's something percolating underneath that has to be addressed. It could be childhood trauma, it could be post-traumatic stress syndrome, it could be nutritional deficiencies. The most important thing is to keep your blood sugar stable. That's the first thing to do. Whenever you have an emotional issue, a mental health issue, hypoglycemia is a major enemy. So you got to keep your blood sugar stable. The way you keep your blood sugar stable is by making sure you're getting more protein, more vegetable carbohydrates, and less processed food, in addition to all your nutritional supplements, most especially for the brain, the B vitamins, and also to a certain extent magnesium and a few other minerals. But the B vitamins are your brain vitamins. And here's the thing about the B vitamins that's missed all the time, except for listeners to this program, because I talk about it all the time. B vitamin deficiency and water-soluble nutrient deficiency. That means electrolytes like potassium and calcium and sodium and magnesium. B vitamins, the electrolytes, and vitamin C deficiencies are extremely common because these nutrients are all water-soluble, and we pee them out. We urinate them out. So if you're urinating, but you're not taking your BTT, or you're urinating and you're not doing your living foods, or you're urinating and you're not replacing those electrolytes and water-soluble nutrients, you're going to be deficient by definition. It can't happen that you're not deficient. So how many people do some BTT after they go to the bathroom? Or how many people do some BTT first thing in the morning after they've gone to the bathroom a couple times in the middle of the night? Or how many people are replacing their electrolytes or their B vitamins through vegetable juices and vegetable soups every time they urinate? How many people? Hardly anybody. Unless they're listening to this program or they're part of the longevity family, hardly anybody is replacing these water-soluble nutrients. That means everybody's going to be deficient, and because the Bs are so important for brain health, it's almost impossible not to have these kinds of mental health issues. And this is why mental health problems affect one of the reasons anyway, mental health problems affect 1 out of 8 Americans. Get on the B vitamins throughout the day, especially if you're drinking lots of water and especially if you're going to the bathroom a lot. That's super important for the brain. And, by the way, the more sugar you eat, the more B vitamins you need. So keeping your sugar intake down, getting on the B vitamins, use the sweeties, use the Beyond Tangy Tangerine. I didn't even tell you about correcting digestive issues, but when you have messed up gut bacteria, gases from these bacteria, from the wrong kinds of bacteria, go into the blood goes into the brain. These gases go from the blood into the brain, and they can affect mental health. They can cause mental health issues too. So correcting digestive problems is also important in addition to working with the sugar. There's so many ways to go, Rose, and I got to move on. I got to take a bunch of calls. Long story short, Beyond Tangy Tangerine. Get on the Beyond OsteoFX if you want your magnesium, and have your son keep his sugar intake as low as possible to keep his blood sugar even keel. What were you going to say, ma'am? Rose?
No, one time when you have the opportunity, please explain to us the difference, the marijuana and the hemp. And
marijuana and hemp, the difference between those two?
Yes.
Okay, we'll do that. I'll do that in the next few days, okay, Rose? Or if I don't, call me back. Okay, thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, I'm not a big believer in smoking marijuana, by the way. Smoking anything is not good for you, but it's nobody's business if anybody wants to smoke pot, and it's certainly not the federal government in Washington's business to tell me or you or anybody else what we can smoke and what we can't smoke. I'm here in Colorado, and we have a little bit of liberty where we can do what we need to do, but most of the country, even in Colorado, has to deal with stupidity, federal regulations and federal legislation that tells me or you or anybody what we can smoke and what we can't smoke. It's offensive. It's insulting to any liberty-loving Americans everywhere. That's just my take on it. Now, hemp is a plant that grows. That's a little different from marijuana. You're not going to get high from hemp. And hemp oil, as it turns out, is ridiculously important as far as a nutritional supplement. It's like a perfect essential fatty acid blend. All right, Justin in Connecticut, you've been on hold for a long time. Welcome to the bright side. What's up, buddy?
Hi, Ben. How are you?
I'm doing good. What's going on, my friend?
Oh, not too much. I have 2 daughters, 10 and 12, and they have milia on their face.
Got it. Both of them?
Both of them.
Okay. Well, they have more than milia going on then, because milia, which for the listeners are hard bumps that form on the skin, and sometimes they got little white heads. Sometimes they're just hard bumps. Is that, you know what I'm talking about? Did I describe that right, Justin?
Yes.
Okay, so either hard bumps or sometimes they're whiteheads with hard bumps. That's a sign that the body's not processing fats correctly and it's deficient in fatty vitamins and fatty nutrients. This typically will happen to women after menopause. It happens after people have their gallbladder removed. If it happens in a little kid, two things you want to think about. Number one, fat processing, and number two, food allergies. That's why I say they have more going on than just milia, and that's your job as the dad, is to see what other symptoms are going on. And if it's happening in both the kids, that tells me it has something, that's a good chance anyway. There's a good chance that it has something to do with what they're eating, assuming they're eating the same things. Any digestive issues that you know about with the kids?
No, not that I know of.
Keep your eye on those, or ask mom about those, or ask the kids. Kids don't usually talk. The kids don't even know. You know, if you've had a digestive problem all your life and you're 8 years old or 9 years old, you don't know any different. So you got to kind of probe a little bit. Get them on a small amount of vitamin A. Vitamin A is almost like a cure. I hate using the cure word, but vitamin A is almost like a cure for milia.
Okay.
And for the kids, probably 5,000 IU a day of milia. You can probably get that in the Beyond Tangy Tangerine if you have them sip on that. If they're not processing fats correctly, that's a sign that there may be some liver issues that you want to know about, maybe some intestinal issues. Get them on the probiotics. The Biolumin Nightly Essence is a great probiotic, of course, and if you can get them to do fermented food, that would be a good idea as well. And then topically, get some retinol or Retin-A from the. You'll have to get it as a prescription, and have them use a very small amount. Kids' skin is typically going to be sensitive and delicate, so you don't want to have them use too much. But that will help keep the skin cells growing and dividing at just the right pace to keep them from clogging up the pores. Most especially, though, is the fat metabolism and fat deficiencies in fatty vitamins, especially vitamin A. For anybody who's dealing with milia. Wish I had more time, Justin. If you want to call back tomorrow, or send me an email, ben@ksco.com, and put your phone number in there, and I'll contact you personally. We can talk about it some more. Thanks for your call, Justin. Sorry if we left you on hold. So I always say you got to call in early on the bright side. I'm Pharmacist Ben. Thanks so much for listening, friends. Tomorrow we'll continue talking about gas transmitters, a really interesting gas transmitter. I'll tell you my story about my friend. We used to call him Locker Room. He used to snort this stuff and get intoxicated, and stuff, as it turns out, is a gas hormone. We'll talk about that tomorrow on the bright side. Thanks for listening, folks. Have a wonderful, beautiful day. We'll talk to y'all later. Bye for now.